It's been 2 very long, extensive years. People have been demanding a refresh to the iPhone SE for so long, but it looks like, given some very concrete leaks, that finally actually might be happening. There's been some minor talk about the iPhone SE ever since the first one came out that there would be a new one. People really seem to fall in love with the 4-inch iPhone 5 looking phone. On top of that, I think one of the reasons it's so popular is just because it's so cheap. Literally now, Apple can say that iPhones start at $350. I bring this out a lot because a lot of people say, Apple sells $1,000 iPhones. You have to spend $1,000 for an iPhone. You don't have to. It is an option if you want a nice one, but if you just want a phone that works and it's affordable, Apple has the SE, and it's not a bad phone, especially considering you can get a 4K camera without a camera bump. How often do you see that on any smartphone these days? So what leaks actually did happen? So way out in the Eurasian Economic Commission, there's been some new filings for brand new iPhones that have yet to come out. I don't think I've talked about stories like this before, but luckily we have some evidence saying that this has worked in the past. For instance, new devices that have yet to come out are often being submitted to these commissions to see if they can be verified for selling before the phone is revealed or the device of any kind is revealed. This happened with the budget 2018 iPad of this year. 2 different numbers, meaning model numbers, were submitted to commissions to see if they could be approved for selling long before the 2018 iPad was announced. Those 2 model numbers ended up being the regular 2018 iPad and the cellular version of that iPad. And basically it means there's a new model number anytime there's a version of iOS that has to be specifically built for a certain device. This means that color is not a factor. As in a space gray, blush gold, silver 2018 iPad, they all have the same model number unless one is cellular, then it has a different one. Now what's actually quite interesting and quite alarming about these new suite of model numbers trying to be approved by these commissions is that there are a ton. A grand total of 11 different model numbers being submitted that are being listed as running iOS 11, as in out of the box they will be running our current version of iOS. Now what does this say? These model numbers running iOS 11 means it is not the iPhones that are coming out in September, as in the 10 and the 10 Plus. All of those future iPhones that we're going to see later this year are not included because those would ship with iOS 12, not 11. The fact that these are shipping with iOS 11 means that they're coming out at WWDC. That's really the only time, and now where Apple's going to be unveiling a lot of stuff. So my guess is that between all of these 11 different model numbers, we're getting lots of different versions of iPad. So we'll probably be getting the new iPad Pros, which since they're being unveiled in June means they're going to be shipping with iOS 11, but not for very long given iOS 12 will be about to come out. And on top of that, I don't think there's 11 different variations of iPad. I mean, we'll have 10.5-inch and 12.9-inch, the cellular versions of each, that's 4. And the fact that it's an odd number of model numbers is kind of confusing because typically you have a regular version and a cellular version. With phones, maybe you have a US version and an international version. Maybe they have some specifically for certain countries like Japan or China. We don't know. But regardless, it means that lots of new hardware is coming out at the Worldwide Developers Conference. That's exciting, and most people are confirming this is going to be an SE refresh. It's going to be a phone that doesn't get an annual refresh, which kind of makes sense. People who are spending little amounts of money on their iPhone aren't probably looking to buy a new one every single year. They're probably buying one just because they need it now, and they're going to use it until it's inoperable anymore. And a lot of people are still using SEs to this day, but regardless, I don't think the iPhone SE needs an annual refresh. Perhaps in June, we're going to find out that the SE model, the phones that look like an iPhone 5, are going to be refreshed every 2 years. That way, people who aren't crazy about getting the iPhone 10 or the latest version and the best version every year, they have something to support them too. A budget iPhone that does what you need it to. And of course, with this new refresh, we'll be getting a couple new features. For one, I'm predicting a different name. SE stood for Special Edition. Now, if it comes out every 2 years, that doesn't make it too special. So I think the name SE2 isn't gonna change, but for the sake of you guys understanding what I'm talking about, that's why I use the term SE2. We're not really sure what they're gonna call it. I think they could go with something simple like iPhone Mini, or they may bring back the C line and call it the 10C, or iPhone Air. There's lots of different ideas they could go with for the new budget 4-inch iPhone, but that's one I think definitely will likely change. I don't think they're gonna call it SE2. In terms of new features that the SE will be getting, I'm anticipating that they're basically going to be shrinking all the features you got in a regular sized iPhone 8 into a design this small, with maybe a couple of compromises. But for the most part, I'm anticipating this will have an A11 chip. Back when the original SE came out, it did have the fastest mobile CPU at the time, not counting the new iPads, but it had the same CPU as the 6S that came came out before it. So like the iPhone 8 got the A11 chip, I'm guessing this new SE will also get it. Similarly, it had a glass back, which means I'm thinking the new SE will have wireless charging via a glass back, which I'm very excited to see because this means we're gonna have the boxy-like design of the iPhone 5, 5S, and SE, but with a glass back again, which I think people who really liked the iPhone 4, you're gonna be getting that type of design again. A flat back, no camera bump, but it's gonna be glass on the back with a likely aluminum bumper all around the edges, which is gonna look really cool and be a nice retro feel for a lot of people who love their iPhone 4 and 4S. This could come with an assortment of camera upgrades as well. Since it'll be booting with iOS 11, it'll likely have that new camera recording mode, and you'll be able to have a 4-inch iPhone that is capable of recording 4K at 60 content. Probably at a pretty decent starting price too, between $400 or maybe $450, and your Pixel 2 still won't be able to do 4K at 60. It'll be hilarious. Two other features I really kind of hope they bring over from the iPhone 8 into the SE. One, stereo speakers. That just seems like something that all phones should have these days, and if you can put it into a budget iPhone, that would be really sweet. It would really sweeten the deal, just beefing up that earpiece a little bit more. And then the next one is waterproofing. That's a really handy feature a lot of people have enjoyed ever since the iPhone 7, and bringing that into budget iPhones I think would cater to the people who just want a phone that works. They're not looking for anything fancy, and if it happens to get thrown in the washer or they fall in the pool, they don't want their phone to die. Makes sense to bring that to the budget iPhone as well. But then comes the wild card that a lot of people are split on. Talked to a lot of people about this new SE, and they're not really sure which way it could go. Will the next gen SE keep the headphone jack? On the flagship phones, Apple's ditched the headphone jack for a long time. It's been over a year now, and it doesn't seem to be hurting the sales, given Apple's doing fine. But the current SE still has a headphone jack, but a lot's changed since then. So what I'm hoping they do is they go ahead and cave and say, you know what? It seems that people are kind of okay with removing the headphone jack. We've been doing it for a while. iPhone 7s are even cheaper now, and people are buying those up. Let's go ahead and ditch it on the new SE and replace it with a taptic engine. That's something we still don't have on the original SE. There's no taptic feedback. There's no 3D touch. Even though there's live photos that you can take with the camera, there's no 3D touch. If they're able to implement that in the new iPhone SE, man, I think I'm just gonna buy that to unbox and review, of course, but being able to bring so many premium features into such a small, compact design would be really, really exciting, and I think that would be interesting for a lot of people who complain about Apple only catering to the rich, you know, with $1,100 iPhones in our near future. And current, when you think about the 256 gig model. Bringing all of those really cool features to a budget iPhone, I think, would restore a lot of faith a lot of customers have with Apple and make them realize, oh, we can still get good, cheap stuff from Apple that works reliably. So I'm definitely looking forward to see what kind of hardware and software we'll be getting this June, and to see all of you SE supporters finally get the upgrade you guys deserve. Let me know what you think of the new iPhone SE down in the comments below, and what is this 11th model number that's trying to get passed? Some people are theorizing it's a new iPod, which I refuse to believe. I'll be shocked if that happens. iPods are dead, right? Anyway, this is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one. So way out in the Eurasian electronic... So way out in the Eurasian economic... So way out in the Eurasian economic... So way out in the Eurasian economic...